TNA Wrestling crossed that line again as another action-packed episode of Impact Wrestling aired on AMC as we're on that road to Sacrifice. Sacrifice is next Friday, everybody. So looking forward to this. It's going to be great. Over here in the UK, do not forget TNA Plus. Download, subscribe, 9.99, everybody. Gives you the lot. Impact, the specials, the pay-per-views, and the archives. Get it on. Anyway, but now let's get down to business, shall we? And we start off with Frankie Kazarian one-on-one with a hometown man. And a hometown man obviously having these issues as well with AJ Francis last week. And speaking of AJ Francis, if you go to our TNA exclusive playlist, you will see an exclusive interview with him. This was a good match, actually, a little fun match to start off with Impact. I do like sometimes that the matches that start off a bit fun. You can start them off red hot, but you can also start them off with a little bit of fun. And Kazarian, of course, is the wily veteran. Hometown man, of course, in his hometown was getting a good reaction from the hometown crowd. There's no doubt about that. Some really good little bits and pieces in this match, but of course, it didn't take too long before we saw the aforementioned AJ Francis. He comes to the ring. Hometown man notices him, does a cross body off the top rope and took him out. And then, I don't know if there was a little bit in this where Kazarian may have hurt his hip in this at the end of this. I'm not sure. Kazarian, I think, went for some kind of leg drop. At the same time, Francis was pulling the hometown man out of the ring, and he sort of looks like he caught his hip. I'm not sure if there was an injury there or if it was just a stinger or whether it was just part of the plan. Anyway, but as he went back out after the crossbody, he slaps AJ Francis. He walks back in, and he's literally rolled back into a small package from Kazarian, and he picked up the victory on this. But it was after they continued the beatdown on the hometown man. How rude of Kazarian and AJ Francis to do that. Then the lights go out, and a strum of the guitar is played, and that can only mean one thing. Elijah is in the impact zone with a guitar shot as well, and he hit AJ Francis with that, and everyone goes running. I just wonder whether we'll get a tag match at Sacrifice or next week on Impact between those two. AJ Francis certainly doing some great work still in TNA, and it'll be interesting to see where we go with this with these two. Obviously, Kazarian still got title aspirations in mind as well, although he didn't wasn't successful with his opportunity. Nick Nemeth have still got that now, but I'm sure he wanted to get back in the world title picture. Elijah's an interesting one because obviously he had a lot of momentum coming in before his injury, and I don't quite know where what we're doing. He's in the middle of a feud with Kazarian right now. Maybe he could be going into the AJ Francis feud after. But I think someone like Elijah will want TNA Championship gold, certainly in the near future. So there's opportunities. Obviously, there's the International Championship as well that he can go with. So it is interesting to see what happens with Elijah. The hometown man will always be welcome in his hometown or wherever he is anyway, and I'm sure he'll enjoy that run. Um, We go backstage to the Angel Warriors now, Zaya Brookside and Lei Ying Lee. And well, they want to send a message to Danny Luna and Ariana Grace. And Lee Ying Lee has demanded her rematch for the Knockouts Championship. So that'll be a great one. Ariana Grace is always improving. And I think that's a great thing that when the championship's on her right now, she will get their eyes on her. And again, this is what TNA does so, so good because we get to see people like Ariana Grace more on our TVs, the character. She's been on NXT quite a lot, to be fair, as well. But it's about that character development. It's about giving them the opportunities to go out there and improve. And she'll definitely get to do that at TNA. I always look at the AJ Francis's, the Ash by Elegances as prime examples. Indy Hartwell, she always had it, but again, she gets the opportunity now. And Lee's another prime example of that as well. So really interesting to see when that match takes place and whether or not Lee will win back the Knockouts Championship. We will see. But we won't be long before we find out because we go to Santino and Daria Ray, to the surprise of absolutely no one, they are arguing. But one thing they do agree on is to make Ariana Grace versus Lei Ying Lee versus Danny Luna, because Danny Luna is owed a championship match, by the way, from Genesis. Uh, and that is happening at Sacrifice next week. Will Danny Luna finally win really what she deserves to win? That's the Knockouts Championship. Will Lei Ying Lee reclaim it, or will Ariana Grace be a champion and find a way to get the job done? You'll find out, like we will, on TNA Plus next week. Where the world was waiting for the debut of Mr. Elegance, in ring debut, that is, of Mr. Elegance to TNA Impact, and it happened today. Action Mike Jackson was his opponent. The 76-year-old doesn't have a problem getting in that ring still, does he? I think that guy should be knighted. He's in, an um, unbelievable shape for a 76-year-old for a start. But kudos to the guy. The crowd were all over him. They literally loved the guy. Anyway, um, probably to the surprise of nobody, the fireman's carry into the spine buster, which is affectionately called the excuse moi, apparently, according to Matt Raywold on commentary anyway, gets the job done for Mr. Elegance. And listen, it was a 5 minute match. I don't know, he's got the look. There's no doubt about that. I'm just kind of going to be waiting until, no disrespect to Mike Jackson, of course, 76 years old, but we need to see Mr. Elegance in competitive matches against the roster. When I said, I mean that very respectfully, but you know, the Leon Slaters, the Eddie Edwardses, yeah, the people that make TNA. So the jury's out on Mr. Elegance right now. I can't really give you an opinion on him, and he's had one match. So let's wait and see Mr. Elegance later on down the line and see what he does. But nevertheless, a victory for Mr. Elegance. But they weren't over. They tried to then dump some drinks on Action Mike Jackson, did the Elegance brand, but ODB comes out to make the save, chair in hand, and Mr. Elegance did get a chair shot, and he got the drinks that the drinks that they were going to dump on Action Mike Jackson got dumped on Mr. Elegance. There you go. Unlucky, mate. But great to see ODB. You can see our interview of ODB in the special guest interviews below. Go and check that one out as well. That one's not a TNA exclusive. That is an ODB special. Talk about a food truck as well that she's got, which is really, really good. Now the system. Speaking of the system, next week on this channel, the TNA exclusive playlist, Eddie Edwards returns to the show next week, which is very, very apt because the system have made some challenges. Brian Myers and Bear Bronson want the Hardy Boys. Cedric Alexander wants a rematch with Leon Slater. Take my money. And of course, the Feast and Fired winner, that is Eddie Edwards, gets a shot, or wants his shot, at the World Heavyweight Championship, and has told Mike Santana his time is a ticking. Well, guys, the system could hold the gold. Then you've got to look at the International Championship. And as I pointed out to Eddie Edwards during our interview, which you can see next week, there's no knockout in the system currently. Look at that for his response to that next week on the show. So, the system are going for gold, though. Let's see if they make it happen and when they make it happen, perhaps. Now, we did say that the triple threat match was made for Sacrifice for that Knockouts Championship. Well, we then get a tag team knockouts match. Danny Luna and Ariana Grace takes on the Angel Warriors, Lei Ying Lee and Zaya Brookside. I enjoyed this. I really, really enjoy this. These four great, like I said about Ariana Grace, right? She gets in the ring. The more that we see her, the improvement, the character development, everything about her will improve while she's doing this run. Maybe the run's going to last another week. Who knows? But these four were really, really, really good in the ring. I really enjoyed it. Got some good time as well, which was really important, I think, especially when you're trying to build something to give a bit of in-ring time, which TNA did, gave it 11 or so minutes, which I thought was, reasonable. More than reasonable, really. Uh, really enjoyed it though. I really did. Lei Ying Lee went for a dive during near the end of this match, but she ducked and she ended up taking out Stacks. But as she was doing that, Danny Luna hits the Luna landing on Zaya Brookside and picks up the Uno Dos Tres for the victory for Ariana Grace and Danny Luna. I'm looking to see what happens next Friday, I believe, or Saturday. I think it's Saturday. Sacrifice. So excuse my mistake, everybody. I'm just now going to check my. And I should know this because I've had two TNA exclusive interviews and I've had the sacrifice background, and it is next Friday. I was right all along. See, I was messing with you guys. But we do have another impact next Thursday before we get to sacrifice, of course. So we'll see what happens on there. But victory for Danny Luna and Ariana Grace as we move ever closer to sacrifice. TNA did do an injury report, so we're going to run this down a little bit. Moose is cleared to compete, but he does have a hip injury. Cedric Alexander is sore but cleared to compete. Leon Slater is still injured after a power driver that he took from Eric Young a few weeks ago, which we'll get into in a minute. And Indy Hartwell is currently out injured with a knee injury sustained by the attack by Ariana Grace. We hope that she gets better soon. Now, the aforementioned Leon Slater. So, Leon admitted that after taking the power driver from Eric Young, he began to doubt himself a couple of weeks ago. But at Sacrifice, he will stand 10 toes down to break Eric Young in a couple of weeks, the next week at Sacrifice, because of course Leon will be defending the X Division Championship against Eric Young at Sacrifice next Friday on TNA Plus in the UK. It'd be interesting to see because maybe that's exactly what Eric Young's always been a good man at mind games. He would try and get into the head of the opponent, and he does that very, very well. And is he already getting into the head of Leon Slater? And will that cost Leon Slater? I mean, it will be. It could be controversial to say this, but it could be a bit of a shock win if Eric Young was to pick up that X Division Championship next week at Sacrifice. That could be, one. Hey, we got to do a prediction league about this next week. Our podcast prediction league will be rolling on to Sacrifice next week, and that's an interesting one to see if EY picks up that way, especially if Leon has been doubting himself. Because now you could get to the point when he goes for the Swanton 450 and doubts that he's going to hit it, or puts doubts in his head to hit the move, and that could cause him to miss or delay it. And, Eric Young will capitalize because that's exactly what he does. Anyway, the system. Now we know Moose has been systematically looking to take the system apart. Next week, he's got Bear Bronson on him. If he makes it past Bear Bronson next week at Sacrifice, he gets Eddie Edwards. Remember what I've been saying over the last few weeks about Alicia Edwards? Just remember that. I'm going to clip it, but remember it. This week, he takes on Brian Myers. Now, before the match starts, Santana Marella comes out and says the system have been barred from ringside. And as soon as he done that, he rang the bell. Myers was having a go at him. He turns around into the spear from Moose. Unos, dos, tres. About 4 seconds, Moose picks up the victory in this match. And he goes on. That's the next part of the system done. Obviously, decimated Cedric Alexander. last week. I think it was good they kept this one short and sweet. After last week's street fight, if he's got a bit of a hip injury as well, then it's probably good that they kept it short. Next week's one is going to be the biggest test probably for Moose as he goes against the blue chipper of Bear Bronson. You can find out what Eddie Edwards thinks of Bear Bronson next week right here on Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. Check it out next Thursday. It will be live for you guys for your viewing pleasure. Also check out what he thinks of Rookie Sosa while you're there as well. Now last few weeks, we've been seeing Rosemary, and last week we saw Ali, the bunny, being brought back from the dead. And this week's one was entitled Envy. And she snaps her fingers, and Ali appeared. But Ali wants a change of clothes because she died in the outfit she was wearing. That's very, very true. Um, and as they do that, they then go to Raven, who we haven't seen in a while. And they were talking about Rosemary was like, well, what am I got to be envious of? What are you envious of? And he was like, I'm envious of Tommy Dreamer. Um, and well, Ali didn't change clothes, by the way. But and then he did say that Tommy Dreamer's got a face like it caught on fire and someone put it out with a rake, which I thought was he also looks like Lizzo ate Abdullah the Butcher. But what he did present to Rosemary was some of Tommy Dreamer's blood from 1995, which Rosemary decided that she was going to smell. Yeah. That was quite incredible. Anyway, let's get back to reality or back to the impact zone, where the system was upset with Santino Marella's actions and Bear's coming to Moose, by the way. But Myers wants to remind the Hardys who he is and went off to look for Daria Ray. We'll see. We'll see, we'll see, we'll see. Right, Elena Black in action next against Jada Stone. Mara Slade was on commentary on this. Uh, I do say that compared to Elena Black, Jada Stone looked quite small, tiny, really. It was quite interesting to see that. Did like this though. I thought this was great. Again, another really good knockout. Man, I was saying we shouldn't be surprised. TNA knockouts are some of the best knockouts in the world. Um, Elena Black for me, sorry, is someone that's gonna be got to be knockout. She's got to be knocking on the door for the Knockouts Championship this year at some point because she is so good at what she does. Jada Stone as well, no slouch, by the way. Nice couple of near falls in this one as well. But Tasha Steeles comes out to distract Zone, Jada Stone, and she then fighting her off. And then when Jada Stone went for the handspring, Steeles Christ, it's early, tripped her up and then allowing Elena Black to hit the blackout for the victory. But Myra Sade and Elena Black got into it after this match, and the security had to get it separated. But I believe that is going to now be no disqualification at Sacrifice next week. So we're looking forward to seeing that one. And while that was happening, Mustafa Ali and Order 4 come out. They surrounded Jada Stone in the ring. What happens there is out comes Trey Miguel, steel chair in hand, and that's going to set up a mixed tag team match for Sacrifice as well. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Um, Backstage, though, Jodie Fret confronted Tessa Blanchard and her crew, and she's challenged Tessa to a match next week. Tessa in a one-on-one match against Jodie Fret next week. Thank you, Lord. Cannot wait to see that match. Tessa Blanchard, she is absolutely brilliant, and I can't wait to see that match next week on the Impact Zone on AMC and TNA Plus. Tag team match now, the Nemeths and the Righteous, and this was another great, great match. I really enjoyed this. The Righteous haven't really been on the fair share of the winning side of things, though. I would say recently, but nevertheless, these four put on a great match. You know what you're getting with this. You really do. Ryan's the sort of cowardice heel. Nick can sell. He could sell meat free. He could sell meat to a vegan. He's that good at what he does. There was a great black hole slam in this match. On Ryan Nemeth. They got a near four. He sold that like his rent was due. It was really, really good. I sometimes you forget just how Vincent from the Righteous, another one you can see below, and the Nemeth brothers, by the way, playlist below. We see that. They just sometimes you just forget how good that they are when and then you see him in a this type of tag match. And there was a great twist in DDT as well in this from Vincent. Um, onto Ryan. But eventually, the Nemeth brothers, the zigzag, the big or the hit, the big Hollywood ending. Basically, that was Ryan Nemeth hits that. He calls it the big Hollywood ending. We know it as a zigzag or the danger zone. And that got the job done with Ryan Nemeth pinning Vincent. Um, and it's just when are the righteous going to win a match? That is the thing. They're on such a losing roll at the minute, and it's a real shame. It really, really is. And I hope they get a win soon. They're probably going to turn. We're going to say that we've been saying for weeks they're going to turn on the Hardys at some point. And the Hardys looks like they're going to have a system problem though next week, and yeah, annoying that they don't get a win yet. But anyway, face to face, Maclin, Santana. Phew, I mean, these were great. Maclin ordered two drinks, by the way. But Santana said that when he returned to TNA, Macklin was someone who helped him prove he belonged there, and he actually looked up to Macklin like a brother and someone at Huey's had Santana's back. But as he started talking about Macklin's ego, Macklin cut him off, and he talked about his experience in Afghanistan, getting out of van to sweep for mines for 2 miles, even though he had no experience. It's really weird because that kind of line from Macklin is what I would say, and I don't like putting the curve, but a face would say to a heel more than a heel would say to a face, if that makes sense. Um, then the drinks arrived. Macklin took one, put one in front of Santana, you know, and then Santana's like, "Why are you away fighting someone else's war? I fought a war with myself." Yes, you know, Santana's made no secret about the wars and battles that he's faced as well, and and Santana hoped Macklin was ready at Sacrifice to fight for everything he's complained about. And while Santana wins at Sacrifice, all Macklin can dream about was, or all Macklin's dreams would be for nothing. Santana paid for the drinks. The waiter was there, like it was, and left Macklin and said, "You're welcome for your job." Interesting. But now let's get into next week on Impact. Moose versus Bear Bronson's going to be a barn burner. Mustafa Ali and against BDE. Hello. Um, and the annoying thing was I wanted Jodie Fret and Tessa Blanchard to go one-on-one, and that was my hope. But it's not. It's Jodie Fret and Harley Hudson and Myla Grace versus Victoria Crawford, Myla Moore, and Tessa Blanchard. So it's going to be a 6 knockout match. Not that I'm complaining about it at all. Jeff Hardy one-on-one with Brian Myers. And Eddie Edwards and Cedric Alexander will face Leon Slater, who still has option C, and Mike Santana. Let's talk about the Sacrifice card pretty quickly. Mike Santana, Steve Macklin, TNA Championship, as we know. Leon Slater and Eric Young for the X Division Championship. Ariana Grace versus Lei Ying Lee versus Danny Luna for the Knockouts Championship. We've got Moose and Eddie Edwards as well. And we've got a no disqualification match. And I think a mixed tag team match as well, which will be announced from TNA very, very shortly. But as always, everybody, do not forget, go on to TNA Plus in the UK, get it downloaded, get it subscribed. $9.99 gives you the lot. And if you're in America, watch it on AMC Sports Center 360 in Canada. And watch us on the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. Do not forget, Eddie Edwards' interview drops next Thursday, everybody, ahead of Sacrifice. So make sure you watch that. Follow us everywhere, HTT Buckle. We'll be back with some more reviews, some more interviews. We've got a whole host coming up on the show. Keep it locked on HTT Buckle everywhere. And until next time, everybody, cross the line and stay safe.